tilt it down a bit. Tilt it towards me a bit. And down. And ooh, there we go. So I was thinking quite hard of how to explain how I ended up at this place without sounding like a total lunatic. I do realize though that ship has already sailed long time ago, probably. So just a quick recap of the timeline, and I don't blame you if you want to skip this part. It all started when I was bored one weekend, probably rained, so I decided to strip the Amonda and basically transferred the whole Dura Ace 12-speed group set over to the Echo for fun, as one do. This was never meant to be a permanent setup. I'm not quite ready to retire the Amonda yet. And I have a gravel event coming up in July, and yeah, having a full road gearing setup was not part of that plan. But when the time came to tear everything down again, I was really reluctant to give up the ergonomics of the 12-speed Shimano shift levers, probably the most favorite part of the whole new 12-speed Dura Ace group set. So I contacted my local bike shop just to see how bad the whole stock situation is, and to my surprise, they had all the parts I was after. So I ended up picking up a front and a rear Ultegra 12-speed Di2 derailleur, batteries, cables, etc., as well as a set of Dura Ace shifters and caliper kits. I have a lot of complicated and personal reasons for not going with the Ultegra levers. Mostly has to do with future plans, but know that ergonomics between the Ultegra and the Dura Ace are exactly the same, so the Ultegra levers definitely makes more sense in terms of economics, not ergonomics. But enough of the backstory. I thought I would share my experience setting this up in a subcompact configuration and the two main issues one might run into. So let's start with a quick weight comparison between the Ultegra and Dura Ace derailleurs, because why not? Weights are fun. 217.5 grams for the rear Dura Ace, 260 grams for the Ultegra. Less difference on the front, of course, where the Dura Ace comes in at 90 grams and the Ultegra at 107 grams, excluding mounting hardware. So that's a difference of just around 60 grams for both derailleurs. And if you take a look at the price, the Dura Ace is basically double the price of the Ultegra. So that combined with me not going full weight weenie dork on the Echo, was the reason I went for Ultegra in this case. Now, as I mentioned, I wasn't really planning on going like a full road gearing on the Echo, and I already had a subcompact chainring setup for my Easton EC90 SL crank that I got when I tried to do this on the Amonda last year, a while ago, which I eventually gave up on. I will combine that subcompact with an 11:34 Ultegra cassette for that sub 1:1 gear ratio. As I learned back on my previous attempt, the Shimano road derailleurs are basically designed around a minimum cog size of 50 on a compact chain set. And when you have a road frame also designed for road gearing and not cyclocross or gravel, you can run into that issue that you can't move the front derailleur low enough. And that was the case on the Amonda. Lo and behold, I had the same problem on the Echo, as you can see here. In the bottom position, I still have a gap of over 5 millimeters. This time I wasn't ready to give up so easily, so I started looking for that front derailleur adapter. And the most common one, I think, is the FSA one, and that was what most of you recommended in the last video. I could not find that readily available in stock anywhere here in Japan, or online for that matter, but I did find one from Sugino that looks like the exact same like product, but it's about double the price of the FSA. But you know, I'm a dork and very impatient, so that's what I went with. For documentation's sake, the adapter kit is about 12.5 grams. Installation is pretty straightforward. Apart from the adapter kit, we also need to use the original mounting washer that comes with the front derailleur, so I'll put that aside for now. It's pretty much impossible to install this the wrong way. One thing worth pointing out is they decided to make both the bolt and the nut for Torx T20, slightly unusual size that are quite rare on multi-tools, for example. Since I have quite a few T20 bolts on my bikes, I did that custom multi-tool to help me out with that situation. As you can see, the original washer is reused here, and the total weight for the derailleur and adapter is 120 grams. For reference, the derailleur with the original mounting hardware was 111 grams. And now I can easily get that derailleur down as low as I want. I use a 1.5mm hex key to measure the height. Of course, you can use the sticker if you want to, at least the first time. If you take a look at the mounting tab, there's plenty of space to go with an even smaller chainring if I needed to. As for adjusting the derailleur itself, I just use the eTube app, following the in-app prompts, and I don't know if I'm just lucky here, but the shifting is actually pretty damn spot on. No hesitation going up to the so-called big ring, so super satisfied about that. Now there's one more issue to mention here, and that is tire clearance. Now again, the derailleurs here are not really designed for anything other than a road setup. So having a tire like say a 40mm gravel tire, it gets pretty tight back there. And when you add that adapter, that kind of shifts the whole derailleur even more towards the tire. This is a bit too close for my liking. For me, I had already decided to downsize the tire situation to a Gravel King SS in a 38mm variant. And the reason for that is basically that gravel event I was talking about in the beginning. I'm actually riding out to the event, which is over in Niigata. That's about 250, 260k ride the day before. And yeah, I know the Gravel King SS is a pretty damn perfect all-around tire, even from tarmac, at least in my experience. Now, it's still a pretty tight fit, so I decided to reroute the Di2 cable over the front derailleur and skipping that little plastic wire guide. That cleared up some more space behind that derailleur. And while I would prefer even more space, especially if it turns out to be muddy, I did a pretty nasty ride just to try everything out, and it didn't clog up there, at least for me. In normal use cases though, I avoid mud like the plague, so I don't think this will be a bigger issue for me personally going forward. Fingers crossed. So based on mine, one anecdotal case here, it is possible to go subcompact without much compromise on shifting, etc. if you really want to. It should be said though, going with something like GRX is probably a more safer solution, as that is designed for subcompact from the get-go and bigger tires and whatnot. 105 Di2 12-speed is just around the corner, a little birdie told me, but looking at those leaks, it looks like that as well has kind of been designed around a minimum 50T front chainring. Fingers crossed for 12-speed GRX coming out sooner rather than later. For me, when that happens, I probably ditch the front derailleur altogether and go back to a 1x setup as soon as I get that clutch rear derailleur. Yeah. Travel King 38 SS. Maybe not the fastest tires, but damn, they feel grippy. Very confidence inspiring. Probably not a good thing. Woo-hoo. There's the first car. Too bad. Oh, let's do this. Oh. Thank you very much. Mitsumine Shrine is a very popular destination on the weekends. And this lower part of the climb or descent is not the best in terms of surface. Wee. So the racing line is not always the fastest or best. Man.